Mark, welcome to part 2. And first of all, I apologise for the quality. I've recently moved to Norfolk and without my studio, so working in the garage, and I couldn't find my tripod, so I'm holding the camera with one hand while working with the other, which isn't ideal. So here we are, we've got a piece of leather hard clay. It's on the softer side of leather hard. I've wiped the surface with a damp sponge. It needs to have that tackiness. I think if you try and put these stencils on anything that is too dry, it's really difficult to stick. So the stencils themselves, I've plunked in water, given them a bit of a shake, and I'm very carefully placing them down on that piece of clay and patting it with my fingers and rubbing with my fingers gently. At this stage it's quite easy for them to slide about, but fortunately if that happens with paper you tend to rip them, but with this it's quite robust, so it's easy to move back. I'm now going over with a very soft red rubber rib, and then again I'm smoothing down all the little edges with my fingers, taking my time and making sure that they've really stuck down. It's with the newsprint it sticks far quicker, but it rips more quickly as well. So and then you've got all the time it takes for cutting the newsprint. I do use both on occasion, but if it's a pattern I'm going to repeat, I make it out of the Tyvek. So once they're firmly stuck in place and I'm happy that all the edges are well down, I'm then ready to apply. At this moment in time it's underglaze, and so I've been using a yellow underglaze on some of the pots that I've been making. They don't look anywhere near as professional as yours, but you get the idea. So once the underglaze has gone on, or slip, which is what you're using, ideally you want the shine to go off before you apply another coat. I'm sure you do that anyway if you're applying coats. Now because I was in a hurry, I did a rather silly thing. I got the hot air gun, and top tip, hot air guns and plastic stencils are not that good together, and you'll see that there's a little bit of a singeing going on there, but I've got plenty of stencils so not to worry. But yeah, one thing to avoid. So this is me applying the second coat now. And then I wait until that's dry. The shine has gone off the slip at least before I remove the actual stencils. And you see it leaves it quite clearly. I sometimes get a little bit of leakage, but it's usually very small, and I can remove that with a knife. That was me just washing the stencils, and pat them dry with a towel and they're ready to use again, which is the beauty of this Tyvek. Here I am actually sticking them onto a third dimensional pot, one of my plant pots. This is a pot that's been quite a bit drier than that piece of clay I just demoed on, and so getting them to stick is just that bit harder. I sprayed the surface of the pot, let it dry a little bit so it wasn't dripping in water, and then gently I've applied the stencils and sponged them on, and it's a case of just keep going at it until you're happy that they've stuck. As I say, if it's a really dry clay it's really difficult, and I think if that is the case you're better off using a paper stencil. But so yeah, probably a bit more time consuming to apply, but not a whole lot more. And as I say, as you're only having to cut them out once and then wash and reapply, I've actually left stencils in water all night and been able to use them again the next day without any impact whatsoever on the stencil or the quality of it. So they're excellent from that point of view. So here's me making a meal of it, trying to get it to stick. It will be there eventually. So once I'm happy that the mask has, or stencil has stuck in place, I gently put my first layer of underglaze on. I have discovered that it's very difficult to decorate a pot with one hand whilst holding a camera with the other. So this film does not do my work any justice whatsoever. It looks really amateur, but anyway, you get the idea. Just finishing off some of the stencil placement here. That really long piece of Tyvek was soaking in the water bucket all night before I applied it, so there was no way that would have been looking like that had it been a piece of paper. But it did take some pressing down into place because the pot was a bit dry there. Just applying more underglaze, going gently, trying not to get too much under the stencil itself. So final coat of underglaze, speeded up a bit now, bit of a patchy job, and I hadn't stuck that piece of Tyvek down properly, but as you can see it peels off like a dream and there is no ripping of paper. I find sometimes when I use newsprint it gets a bit wet and then it tears so easily. Now again there has been the odd little bit of seepage, but that's easily resolved with a sharp knife. Now this looks a bit of a mess here, but what I wanted to demonstrate is that you can also use the stencils as a guide for wiping things away and creating a sharp edge, which you definitely could not do with paper. So I mean that was a bit of a mess there anyway. So what I've done is I've attached two bits of Tyvek by sticking them down, and I'm rubbing gently with a sponge and creating, well, it would be a sharp line had I been able to hold the pot with two hands, but you get the idea. And then at the end of the day, I'm just dunking all the stencils into a pot of water, making them nice, getting them all clean, and so they're all reusable to go again. And here's just a final look at some of the things that the stencils have achieved. Hope that's helpful, Mark. And good luck. Let me know how you get on.